My name is Lillian, I'm 32 years old, and up until a few months ago, I thought I had a pretty normal life. I have parents who live about an hour away from me, and a younger sister named Barbara who's 28. Barbara has a 5-year-old daughter, my niece, who's absolutely precious. Barbara used to be married to a guy named Mark, but they divorced 2 years ago when my niece was just 3. As for me, well, that's where things get complicated. I was married too, for 8 years. I thought we had a good marriage. We tried for kids for so long that it became this constant ache in my chest. Month after month of negative pregnancy tests, doctor visits, fertility treatments, you name it, we tried it. My husband always said he was supportive, that we'd figure it out together. Turns out he was figuring it out with someone else. 2 someone else's, actually. I found out about the cheating about 4 months ago when I accidentally saw a text on his phone. Not just one affair, he'd been seeing 2 different women for years. And get this, one of them had given birth to his kids. Twice. So while I was crying over negative pregnancy tests and spending thousands on fertility treatments, he was making babies with his mistress. The divorce was brutal. He actually had the nerve to tell me it was my fault because I couldn't give him children. Said that's why he had to look elsewhere. Like I chose to be infertile. Like I enjoyed the monthly heartbreak and the invasive medical procedures. The lawyers, the paperwork, the division of everything we'd built together, it nearly broke me. That's why when my parents called me a month ago and said they were planning a family trip to Hawaii, I jumped at the chance. "You need to come with us, Lillian," my mom said over the phone. "You need to get away from all this negativity and heal. It'll be good for you to spend time with family." She was right. I needed something to look forward to, something to pull me out of the depression I'd been wallowing in since the divorce was finalized. The idea of warm beaches, tropical drinks, and quality time with people who actually loved me sounded like exactly what I needed. For the first time in months, I felt a spark of excitement. I went shopping for vacation clothes, bought new swimsuits, and even treated myself to a pedicure. Barbara was excited too when I talked to her about it. She said her daughter was thrilled about going on her first airplane ride and seeing the ocean. The morning of our flight, I took an Uber to the airport, dragging my bright pink suitcase behind me as I walked through the automatic doors. The place was buzzing with travelers, announcements echoing overhead about departing flights. I scanned the crowd looking for my family and spotted them near our gate. My parents were sitting on those uncomfortable airport chairs, and Barbara was standing nearby with my niece. "Aunt Lillian," my niece called out when she saw me, running over with her arms outstretched. She was wearing a little flowered dress and had her hair in pigtails. "Hey there, sweetheart," I hugged her tight. "Are you excited about Hawaii?" "Yes, Mommy says there are big turtles in the water." Barbara walked over and gave me a quick hug. "Perfect timing," she said. "Oh, actually, could you do me a huge favor?" She's been asking for water for the past 10 minutes, and the line at that food court over there looks shorter than the one by our gate. "Could you grab her a bottle?" I looked where she was pointing. There was indeed a small food court area with what looked like a manageable line. "Okay, I'll be right back." I headed toward the food court, checking my phone for our boarding time. We still had about 45 minutes, so plenty of time. The line turned out to be longer than it looked from a distance. Airport food service is always slow, and today was no exception. I waited and waited, checking my phone periodically. Then, just as I was finally getting close to the front, I heard someone call my name. "Lillian, oh my God, is that really you?" I turned around and saw my college roommate Jessica standing behind me. We hadn't seen each other in over a year. "Jessica, what are you doing here?" "Business trip to Denver, what about you?" "Family vacation to Hawaii, actually, first trip since my divorce." We ended up talking for almost 20 minutes, catching up on life, work, her kids. She was sympathetic about my divorce and said all the right things about new beginnings and better days ahead. It felt good to talk to someone who wasn't walking on eggshells around me. By the time I finally got the water and said goodbye to Jessica, I realized I'd been gone for almost 30 minutes. I hurried back toward our gate, expecting to see my family gathered there, probably wondering where I'd been for so long. But when I got to our gate area, they weren't there. I looked around, thinking maybe they'd moved to a different seating area, but I didn't see them anywhere. What I did see made my heart stop. Standing in the middle of the waiting area, all by herself, was my 5-year-old niece. She was holding her little pink purse with both hands and looking around with wide, scared eyes. I ran over to her and dropped to my knees. "Sweetie, where is everyone? Where's Mommy and Grandma and Grandpa?" She looked up at me with those big brown eyes and said in the smallest voice, "They went on the airplane, Aunt Lillian. Mommy said to wait here for you. She said you would take care of me." My hands were shaking as I looked around the gate area again. No sign of my family anywhere. The departure board showed that our flight had indeed left 15 minutes ago. "Sweetie, did Mommy give you anything for me?" She nodded and opened her little purse, pulling out a folded piece of paper. My sister's handwriting was unmistakable. The note said, "Lillian, you're always talking about wanting a child. Here's your chance to spend some quality time with one. We changed our flight to leave earlier. Don't worry, we'll have a peaceful vacation. Take good care of her, Barbara." I sat there holding my niece, trying to process what had just happened. My own family had abandoned this little girl. The note in my hands felt like it was burning my fingers. The worst part was realizing that my niece had been alone for 30 minutes while I chatted with Jessica. Anything could have happened. She could have wandered off, been grabbed by someone, or walked outside and gotten hit by a car. The thought made me sick. "Sweetie, were you scared?" I asked her. She nodded, her bottom lip trembling. "There were so many people, I didn't know where to go. How could my own mother and sister leave a 5-year-old alone in a crowded airport?" I pulled out my phone and started texting my family. "Barbara, what the hell is wrong with you? How could you abandon your daughter? My parents, I can't believe you were part of this." Nobody responded. They had probably turned off their phones, living it up while I dealt with their mess. "Come on, sweetie," I said, taking her hand and picking up my suitcase. "Let's go home." Back at my apartment, I made her mac and cheese and we watched cartoons on my couch. She seemed okay on the surface, but I could tell she was confused and hurt by what had happened. "Aunt Lillian, when is Mommy coming back?" she asked during a commercial break. "I don't know, honey, she went on vacation with Grandma and Grandpa." "But why didn't I go? Did I do something bad?" My heart broke hearing that question. How do you explain to a 5-year-old that her mother abandoned her for no reason other than selfishness? "Sometimes grown-ups make bad decisions," I said finally. "But you didn't do anything wrong, sweetie, this isn't your fault." That night, after putting her to bed in my spare room, I sat in my kitchen thinking. I was angrier than I'd ever been in my life. My sister had serious problems if she thought abandoning a child was acceptable. And my parents were just as bad for going along with it. Then I remembered Mark, my sister's ex-husband. Barbara had always painted him as this terrible guy who cheated on her and abandoned his family. She told us he was irresponsible, that he never paid child support, that he didn't want to see his daughter. But what if that wasn't the whole story? What if there was more to their divorce than what Barbara had told us? I found his number and called him. "Lillian, is everything okay? Mark, Barbara just abandoned your daughter at the airport. She flew to Hawaii with my parents and left her alone. If you want to see her, come over now. I'll be right there." He showed up 2 hours later with a big doll. When my niece saw him, she ran into his arms. "Daddy," she squealed. "Hey there, princess, I missed you so much." He was crying as he hugged her. Watching them, I realized this man genuinely loved his daughter. This wasn't someone who had abandoned his family. After my niece went to bed, Mark told me the truth. "Lillian, everything Barbara told you was a lie." He showed me screenshots of text messages between Barbara and 2 different men. Explicit messages about meeting at hotels and lying to Mark. "She was cheating with multiple guys," he said. I hired a private investigator. I have photos, videos, hotel receipts, everything. He showed me pictures. Barbara kissing another man. Barbara going into hotels with guys who weren't Mark. I even got a DNA test to make sure she was really my daughter. Mark, if you had all this evidence, why didn't you use it in court? He looked down. I was embarrassed. I didn't want everyone knowing my wife was sleeping around. I didn't want people thinking I was weak. And I didn't want my daughter knowing her mother was like that. So you let Barbara paint you as the bad guy? I thought I was protecting my daughter, but I was wrong. Well, now's your chance to fix that. What do you mean? Let's get your daughter back where she belongs, with you. Would you really help me? Absolutely, what Barbara did today was unforgivable. We need airport video footage. Proof that she abandoned her daughter. Already called my lawyer, we're requesting the security footage Monday morning. For the first time since my divorce, I felt like I was doing something right. My sister had crossed a line, and it was time for consequences. The next 2 weeks were a whirlwind of activity. Mark and I worked together like we were on some kind of mission, which I guess we were. We were fighting to save his daughter from a mother who clearly didn't deserve her. Mark's lawyer moved fast. By Wednesday, they had already filed the paperwork to request custody modification and submitted a formal request for the airport security footage. The lawyer said cases involving child abandonment were taken very seriously by the courts, especially when there was video evidence. The fact that she left a 5-year-old alone in a public place for 30 minutes is going to look really bad, the lawyer told us during our meeting. Add that to the other evidence Mark has been collecting, and we have a strong case. While we waited for the legal process to move forward, Mark showed me more of what he'd discovered about Barbara over the past 6 months. It was worse than I had imagined. Look at this, he said, pulling up Barbara's Instagram account on his phone. She posts pictures from parties almost every night. And look what's in her hand in every single photo. I scrolled through dozens of photos. Barbara at clubs, Barbara at house parties, Barbara at restaurants, and in almost every single picture, she had a drink in her hand. Wine, cocktails, beer, shots. It was like she was documenting her drinking problem for the whole world to see. She's been posting these while she's supposed to be taking care of our daughter, Mark said. Look at the timestamps. This one was posted at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. Who's watching the kid when she's out partying until 2 in the morning? The evidence kept getting worse. Mark had hired the same private investigator who had caught Barbara cheating during their marriage, and this guy was thorough. He had videos of Barbara stumbling out of bars drunk, getting behind the wheel of her car with their daughter in the back seat. This video is from 3 weeks ago, Mark said, showing me footage on his phone. Watch this. The video showed Barbara walking unsteadily to her car in a parking lot outside some club. She was clearly drunk, stumbling, dropping her keys, having trouble getting the car door open. Then the camera zoomed in and I could see my niece sleeping in the back seat. She drove home drunk with our daughter in the car, Mark said, multiple times. I have 4 different videos of her doing this. I felt sick watching it. Mark, why haven't you called the police? This is dangerous. I wanted to build a complete case first. One incident might not be enough to get custody changed, but a pattern of behavior will be. The private investigator had also documented Barbara's spending habits. Mark showed me credit card statements that made my jaw drop. In the past 2 months alone, she had spent over $3,000 on clothes, another $1,500 on salon treatments, and nearly $1,000 at bars and restaurants. Remember, she hasn't worked in 2 months, Mark said. All of this is being paid for with the child support money I sent her. Money that's supposed to be for our daughter's food, clothes, and childcare. What about the plastic surgery you mentioned? Mark pulled up more documentation, $8,000 for breast implants. Paid for 2 weeks after I sent her a child support payment. Meanwhile, look at this. He showed me photos the investigator had taken of my niece. Her clothes were too small, clearly outgrown. Her shoes had holes in them. She looked like she needed a haircut. She's spending my money on making herself look good while our daughter wears clothes with holes in them, Mark said. It makes me so angry I can barely think straight. But the most damning evidence was yet to come. While Barbara was living it up in Hawaii, posting daily photos of herself with tropical drinks, she had barely acknowledged that she had a daughter. She sent exactly one text message asking about her in 2 weeks, I told Mark, showing him my phone. One message, how's she doing? That's it, no phone calls, no video calls, nothing. What did you tell her? I said she was fine and that Barbara would have a big surprise waiting when she got back. Meanwhile, I was watching my niece every day, and it was clear that she was happier living with me than she had been with her mother. She wasn't asking about Barbara as much anymore. She seemed more relaxed, less anxious. When Mark came to visit, which was almost every day now, she lit up like a Christmas tree. Daddy, can we go to the park today? She asked him one afternoon. Of course, princess, whatever you want to do. Watching them together broke my heart in the best way possible. This little girl clearly adored her father, and he adored her right back. It was obvious that they belonged together. The custody service had already assigned a caseworker to investigate the situation. A woman named Mrs. Patterson came to my apartment to interview me and observe my niece's living situation. How has she been adjusting to staying with you? Mrs. Patterson asked. Really well, actually, she seems more settled than I expected. She's been sleeping through the night, eating well, playing normally. The only time she seems upset is when she asks about her mother. And how often does she ask? Less and less. The first few days she asked constantly. Now it's maybe once a day. Mrs. Patterson took notes throughout our conversation. She also spent time talking to my niece, asking her gentle questions about how she was feeling and what she remembered about the airport. The nice lady asked me if I was scared at the airport, my niece told me after Mrs. Patterson left. I told her yes, but that I'm not scared anymore because you and Daddy take care of me. On Friday of the second week, Mark's lawyer called with an update. We got the airport footage, he said during our conference call. It's even better than we hoped. The video clearly shows Barbara, your parents, and the child arriving together. Then it shows Barbara and your parents boarding the plane while the child is left standing alone in the waiting area. The timestamp shows she was alone for 28 minutes before Lillian returned. 28 minutes, Mark repeated, a 5-year-old was abandoned for nearly half an hour. The video also shows other passengers noticing the unattended child and looking concerned. One woman actually approached her and seemed to be asking if she was okay before Lillian returned. This is going to be very powerful evidence in court. That weekend, Mark and I took my niece to the zoo. She held both of our hands as we walked around looking at animals, chattering excitedly about the monkeys and elephants. Aunt Lillian, look. The baby elephant is staying close to its mommy, she said, pointing at the elephant enclosure. That's right, sweetie, baby animals need their mommies and daddies to take care of them and keep them safe. Like how you and Daddy keep me safe? Exactly like that. Mark squeezed my hand and gave me a grateful look. For the first time in months, I felt like I was part of something good, something meaningful. After my divorce, I had felt so lost and broken. But helping Mark get his daughter back was giving me a sense of purpose I hadn't felt in a long time. On Sunday night, Mark and I were going over our timeline for the custody hearing when my phone buzzed with a text from Barbara, flight lands tomorrow at 6 p.m. I'll be there by 8 to pick her up. The next morning, I got my niece dressed in her favorite dress and did her hair in pigtails. She had no idea what was about to happen, and I wanted to keep it that way for as long as possible. Is Mommy really coming today? She asked. Yes, sweetie, Mommy's coming back from Hawaii today. She seemed less excited about that than I would have expected. Will I still see you and Daddy? We'll figure all of that out, okay? Don't worry about it. At exactly 7:30 p.m., there was a knock at my door. Mark was already there, along with Mrs. Patterson from the custody service. When I opened the door, Barbara was standing there with a tan and a big smile on her face, clearly expecting to just pick up her daughter and go home like nothing had happened. The smile disappeared when she saw Mark standing behind me. "What the hell is he doing here?" Barbara demanded, staring at Mark. Mrs. Patterson stepped forward. "Ms. Barbara, I'm from Child Protective Services. Custody proceedings have begun regarding your daughter." Barbara's face went white. "What custody proceedings?" "Your ex-husband filed for emergency custody based on child abandonment," Mrs. Patterson explained. "The court temporarily placed your daughter with her aunt until the hearing." "This is ridiculous," Barbara screamed. "Lillian, how could you betray your own sister?" I stepped forward. "Barbara, you abandoned your 5-year-old daughter at an airport. You left her alone for 30 minutes. I knew you would take care of her. You left her with a note. She was terrified." Mark pulled out his phone. "Barbara, we have security footage. Videos of you drunk driving with our daughter. Evidence of you spending child support on plastic surgery while she wore clothes with holes. You've been spying on me?" "I've been documenting your neglect," Mark said firmly. "A judge will see everything." Barbara completely lost it. She started screaming, calling me horrible names, blaming me for ruining her life. She tried to push past us, but Mrs. Patterson blocked her. "Ma'am, calm down, this outburst is being recorded for our court report." Barbara couldn't control herself. She threw her purse at Mark, then tried to hit me. Mrs. Patterson called for backup. "This behavior concerns us," Mrs. Patterson said as officials arrived. "A parent who cannot regulate emotions isn't providing a safe environment." Barbara was escorted out, still screaming. My niece had hidden behind me, clearly scared. After they left, Mrs. Patterson talked to my niece gently. "Sweetie, are you okay?" My niece nodded but stayed close. "Is mommy sick?" She seemed angry. "Sometimes grown-ups get upset," Mrs. Patterson said kindly. "But you're safe with your aunt and daddy." My parents started calling nonstop. They were furious I had betrayed the family. "Drop this lawsuit immediately," my mother demanded. "Barbara made a mistake, but doesn't deserve to lose her daughter." "Mom, she deliberately abandoned a 5-year-old at an airport. That's child endangerment." "You're being dramatic, she knew you'd take care of her." For 30 minutes, that little girl was completely alone. Anything could have happened. But my parents refused to see reason. They cared more about family loyalty than their granddaughter's safety. The custody hearing was scheduled for the following week. Mark's lawyer had prepared an overwhelming case with airport footage and months of evidence showing Barbara's drinking problem and neglect. The hearing was almost anticlimactic. Barbara couldn't control her temper. Every time Mark's lawyer presented evidence, she interrupted with shouts and insults. "Your Honor, this is all lies," she yelled during the drunk driving videos. The judge warned her multiple times. When they played the airport footage, Barbara threw her water bottle at the screen. "Ms. Barbara, control yourself or be held in contempt," the judge said sternly. "This is Lillian's fault," Barbara screamed, pointing at me. "She's jealous I have a kid and she doesn't." Even her lawyer looked embarrassed. The judge decided quickly. Based on the evidence, including video documentation of child abandonment and neglectful behavior, I award full custody to the father. The mother has no visitation until completing court-mandated alcohol treatment and anger management. Barbara was escorted out by security, still screaming. That afternoon, I got a letter from my parents officially disowning me for betraying my sister. It hurt, but I knew I'd done right. My niece was safe with her father, who loved and protected her. Mark enrolled her in preschool, and she was thriving. I still see her regularly. Mark brings her for dinner twice weekly, and we go to parks on weekends. She calls me Aunt Lillian and gives huge hugs. She seems happier than ever. Months later, I heard Barbara completed alcohol treatment. I was glad. Maybe this experience would help her become the mother her daughter deserved. This situation ended up being exactly what I needed. Instead of wallowing over my divorce, I focused on protecting an innocent child. It gave me purpose and reminded me that though I couldn't have children, I could still make a difference. My ex-husband said I was worthless because I couldn't give him kids. But helping my niece showed me motherhood isn't just biology. It's love, protection, and putting a child's needs first. By that definition, I'd been more of a mother in those weeks than Barbara had been in 5 years. I don't regret anything. My niece is safe, happy, and loved. She has a father who adores her. Sometimes doing right means hard choices, even when it costs you family. But gaining my niece's safety was worth losing people who cared more about loyalty than a child's well-being. I sleep well knowing I helped save a little girl from danger. Maybe someday Barbara will become the mother her daughter needs. Until then, my niece has all the love and protection she needs from people who truly put her first.